Age is an uncomfortable and uncontrollable concept. The old, run-down versions of the former glory. The grime that collects on antiques or the ink that smudges on a page. Drawings that are weathered, ripped, and stained. And letters from a time you can barely remember. Something lives in this space between memories. Something that works in the shadows, shrouded in mystery and unknown intentions. In this space, neighbor, lives a long-lost show called Welcome Home. Hello all, and welcome back to Welcome Home. This website recently got updated with so much information that we weren't even working with half the picture before. This update is starting to clear a lot of things up in the story of this show, but there are now so many different questions that need to be answered. Just like with the start of a normal Welcome Home episode, we will open on Wally Darling. Wally is the main character of Welcome Home, and, as noted by his character description, is always eager to make new friends and show them around the neighborhood, and includes us viewers in many of his activities. Now, while looking through the website, it appears that Wally is more than just a TV character. In the news section of the website, the creators mentioned images decorating the messages in the guest book. The WHRP, or Welcome Home Restoration Project, are running this website to store all the information they could possibly find on this old forgotten show, but they are unsure how these drawings could have possibly appeared. When inspecting or saving these drawings, you can see a message hidden in the name. These messages respond to the signatures as if this was a character. If a signature mentioned another character, the messages would respond with something like, "I will tell her," or "I told him." There were a few to greatly suggest which character this is. If a signature would mention Wally being their favorite, the message would say, "I'm your favorite." Or if a signature said that their name is Wally as well, the message would say, "Our name." This was pretty good evidence that Wally was writing all of this, but a question was thrown out that divided people, wondering if these messages were really from Wally, or just someone or something posing as Wally. Luckily, this new update gave us a clear answer. If you wait on a page for a few seconds, a drawing may begin to appear. Wally is known to be an artist, but we get a clear answer if you click on the drawing. It will lead you to a new page with a spinning vinyl and an audio file. If you play the audio file, Wally himself will speak to you. There are many other moments that we can see Wally manipulating the website as well. While perusing, you may notice a few letters misaligned or out of place. Putting these into the search bar will give you various different web pages depending on the ordering. In one of them, Wally appears and talks to the viewer directly. With this new update, we know without a shadow of a doubt that Wally himself is able to manipulate this website. Somehow, our good old dear Wally is not simply a children's show character, but in fact alive and aware of all of us. Wally isn't the only one in this neighborhood. There are 7, or technically 8, other neighbors. Now, this begs the question, is Wally the only one who is aware, or does everyone know about us watching and uncovering them through this website? If we look back at the guest book, we can see that anytime someone references another character, Wally has to inform that character. No one ever writes in this book or communicated with these signatures except for Wally. Similarly, with all the secrets in the website, if they ever lead us to a character, it's only ever Wally. Now, this is all fine and dandy, but what really seems to give us an explanation is the merchandise section of the website. Here, we can see a toy called the It's For You talking telephone. For any of you big fans of Welcome Home, you may recognize this toy. Not only did I reference it in my last video, but Clown, the actual creator of the website and everything surrounding Welcome Home, has shown us this toy before in an old promotional post. This post contained an audio demo test for multiple characters that, at the time, was over 2 years old. On the bottom of this promotional image, we can see an interesting sentence. It says, "Call your favorite neighbors anytime. A delightful message just for you. They can't hear you though." When listening to this audio concept, none of the characters can hear us except for Wally Darling. Now, of course, this is an old concept design and won't be exactly the same as it is now, but on the merchandise webpage, we can also listen to each of these characters. And wouldn't you know it, none of the characters can hear you. The website gives you a warning and says the audio for Wally Darling is experiencing a glitch and has been temporarily taken offline, but you can still click the button to call him. This will open a secret page with another audio file. In this one, we call Wally, he picks up, and he once again knows we are there. Just like with the promotional, no other character knows that we are there except for Wally Darling. This proves to us that none of the other neighbors can communicate with us through this website. However, this doesn't mean that they are unaware of the audience at all. If we check out the media tab of the website, we can hear an old live television interview from someone between 1969 to 1970. This interview is of Wally, but he brings in Barnaby. They all talk about this show and how Barnaby always knew that he would be a star. This interview shows us that at some point, these characters knew that there was an audience watching their show. This doesn't mean that they are fully aware of this website or even currently alive at all, but we cannot dismiss the fact that they are aware to some extent that they are puppets on a children's show. One of the brand new pages to this website is the Playfellow exhibition. The page shows us a full gallery that was put on to display the current findings of Welcome Home. Towards the bottom of the page, there is a hidden link. If you click on it, you are brought to a secret page with random scribblings on a notebook talking about a password. Clicking will bring you to an image of a strange safe covered in what appears to be black ink, and clicking a third time will bring you to a password input. Luckily, this website already gave you this password in the form of a worksheet. It asks you 5 questions, and answering all of them will give you the password. Who is the funniest neighbor? Barnaby. Who shines brighter than any star? Sally. Who is the biggest chicken? Poppy. Which neighbor speaks to flowers? Julie. Who is your best friend? Wally. The first letter of each name, BSPJW, is the password needed to enter. Once inside, you're presented with a horrifying secret filled with messages, ramblings, and once again, that black ink. On this page, there are quite a few pictures, some of them having strange writing in invisible ink that's being shown through a blacklight. There's one here that seems to connect to a few events that we've seen before. It says, "Everything is so disgusting to touch. Sometimes the mail doesn't come for weeks. I want to rip into everything I have. My head feels so muddled too, ever since I opened that envelope." Right off the bat, there doesn't seem to be too much to connect, until we remember the About Us page. Underneath the question for "Why did you make this website?" it says, "When I unwrapped the first letter, I felt it, I heard it. Open, open, open. I want it out. I'm going to get it out." Something related to these letters seems to affect people negatively, but that's not all. In one of these images, we can see an email between the WHRP and the exhibition staff, which states, "If a substance begins to grow on anything delivered, please place it back in the box it was shipped in and return it to us at your leisure. If you or anyone in your team experiences nausea, dizziness, or fatigue, please don't be alarmed." It would seem that a strange substance is causing this, as the original message was also referencing something that was disgusting to touch. In one of the later pictures, we can see a notebook with a handwritten note. At the end of this note, it reads, "There's more of that stuff on the walls. I keep hearing phones ring." Just like the email said earlier, this stuff seems to be growing on the walls. If we were to take a look at these walls, we can see the same black ink that is all over the webpage. This substance is the black ink we were talking about earlier. But this is more than just ink. This is some sort of insanity goo. It starts by giving you strange and vague symptoms before making you go crazy. This goo is growing, as we read about it expanding to the walls, but there's another place where this goo is growing. If we check the neighborhood map, you are able to drag the background image to a new tab to see underneath home. Before this update, there was a large void right underneath and a spiral in the center. After this update, the void is bigger. It's expanding from every direction, with the center spiral growing into a strange symbol. This goo that makes people go crazy is growing everywhere. The person who was being affected by this goo had referenced a ringing phone, but this isn't just a one-off statement. There is clear evidence of a phone being a part of this story. So far, we mainly looked at the images in this secret webpage, but there's so much more to look at. These strange ramblings start to greatly connect with the idea of a phone. It says, "I had a dream when I began working on the Playfellow exhibition. Wally Darling was sitting at the foot of my bed with a rotary phone in front of him, ringing away. It looked just like the little toy phone we were restoring for the exhibit. It kept ringing. Wally stared at me like he was waiting for me to pick up the phone. He kept waiting. I couldn't pick up the phone. I keep getting phone calls now. I check my phone and there's no new messages. I tore up the workspace and couldn't find another phone that might be ringing. All that were there were the toys for the exhibit, and obviously those couldn't be ringing. I can still hear the phone ringing now. I don't know how to answer the phone. I need to answer the phone." Now, obviously, we are shown the phone's connection to Wally, but there's many other times that a phone has showed up besides just here. In the guest book, there is a signature from someone named Nostalgia, and the signature ends with, "Boy, do I want to know him. I want to be more than best friends. I want to smile." Right above is a drawing of a phone, and the message attached states, "Then answer me." Funnily enough, there's another strange occurrence of this type of message. One of the secret letter combination pages brings you to a static image of home, with Wally's eyes flashing over homes. If you wait on this page, Wally begins to draw a phone. Clicking this phone will lead you to another vinyl where we can hear Wally talking to us. In this clip, he says this.
"Why won't you answer me, neighbor? Why can't I hear you? You know me. You do. Please open. Let me in."
We keep getting persistent messages of a phone, even getting information that this is the same phone as the toy they restored. But that's just it. When we looked at the phone, only Wally knew we were on the other end. He began communicating with us. Towards the end of the clip, Wally says this.
"You have to go too. You have work to do."
Wally Darling is attempting to communicate with us through the phones, and we have work that we need to do. This is all very sinister, so if this insanity goo got out to the public, one would think that the main team behind this would do everything in their power to stop it, right? Well, I'm not so sure about that. The WHRP seems to know about all of this, but is keeping it under wraps. Originally, when looking at the secret messages in the About Us section, we had assumed that these were covered up by Wally, but now I'm not so sure. If we go to the news section of the website, we can see some interesting messages. The WHRP has noticed strange occurrences, such as skewed graphics, strange drawings, and pesky bugs, but the WHRP has always told us to ignore these. Not only this, but there's a strange occurrence in the news section that came with the new update. Right under the update from July 22nd, there is an undated update. This one references the guest book and its closure, but in a very strange way. It says, "So many guest signatures. So many of them are trying to communicate. What are you telling me for? Do you think I can answer? What are you trying to do to me? I'm closing that guest book. I'm not playing this game anymore. The ringing is enough." This is a complete contrast to how the current update tackles the guestbook's closure. It says, "It is with a heavy heart that we at the Welcome Home Restoration Project must announce the closure of our guestbook. Your support has been wonderful and reassuring, but it has overwhelmed our website to such a degree that we do not believe we can keep up." This is a much more positive message than the previous one. This isn't the only time the WHRP has covered up something related to the goo. If we go back to the staff-only page, we are reminded of the email that the WHRP sent to the gallery. This email says to not be alarmed by the strange symptoms experienced by the goo. They only tell them that it should never be touched with your bare hands, and to place anything back in the box if a substance begins to grow on it. They never explicitly tell them what's happening. Nobody knows what they signed up for. Now, one could give the WHRP the benefit of the doubt and assume that this insanity goo is something that they haven't experienced before, but I don't think we can give them that. In one of these images, there's an old notepad from the first person to discover Welcome Home. They refuse to state their name, but want to let somebody know that Welcome Home exists. When they first discovered Welcome Home in these brightly colored envelopes, there was a gross, slippery material all over it. This goo has been here since the beginning, which means the WHRP would have to know about it. If the WHRP knows about this goo that appears on all things related to Welcome Home, why do they keep sending it out into the world? Well, this question is a lot harder for us to answer, but there's two possibilities. Either the WHRP is still releasing all the Welcome Home information for selfish reasons, wanting to go down in history as the greatest team ever for uncovering this lost media, but the true answer could be much darker. While we don't have much information for the idea, it is strange that the WHRP always remains anonymous. Not just in the About Us page, but also in the journal that contained the very first reveal of anything related to Welcome Home. We can even see in an email where the WHRP team refuses to let anyone else besides their own team restore these lost pieces of media. It is very strange that this team is so silent and secretive the more you discover about them. Now, enough about the WHRP, it's time we get back to Wally. We mentioned earlier that Wally kept insisting that we answer the phone. This doesn't really tell us much about him though. He wants us to answer a phone, but why? What does this mean? We mentioned that in this update, there are times where waiting on a page will reveal a drawing from Wally, and clicking on it will reveal a message. One thing I excluded is that all these messages are named. There are 12 secret messages, and putting all of them together makes a sentence. I will help you understand, neighbor. I will find a way soon. Putting every audio file in this order will also create a full conversation. It involves Wally talking to us, reassuring us that he knows we're there in case we can't see him. He talks about home, who responds and says hello in Morse code, but then the conversation starts getting darker. Wally gets more panicked, wondering why we won't answer and why he can't hear us, before begging us to let him in. Based on his asking us to answer, and his constant request for us to answer the phone, it would seem that answering the phone, quote-unquote, lets him in. But why does he want to be let in? What is he trying to escape from? Just like with his current panic, it is hard to find a proper explanation, but we can make an educated guess from the information provided to us. In the final message where Wally is panicking and begging for us to let him in, the only way to access that audio file is through the staff-only page. Scrolling all the way down, we can see more of the insanity goo covering the page, with a shaky text saying it's in here. Now, a very important thing to note is that this shaky text is a proper quote from somebody, not just a paraphrased statement. The quotation marks show us that this is directly from someone or something that is extremely panicked. If you click on this text, you are led to what seems to be a normal 404 error page, except waiting here will reveal stars that are drawn by Wally himself. Clicking on these stars will finally lead us to the audio file where Wally says for us to let him in. Based on the previous audio file, where Wally becomes slowly more panicked, we know that this "let me in" isn't meant to be a dark and threatening "let me in," but instead, panicked. This is a similar idea to the shaky text leading us to the message. If this text leads us to Wally, we can most likely assume that they are connected in some way. If this text is saying that this goo, or the source of the goo, is wherever Wally is, it would make sense for him to want to escape from his location. We even know that the goo is in Wally's neighborhood based on the void below home. If we are to go strictly off the information we have as of the last update, it would seem that we aren't the only ones being affected by this insanity goo, but the neighborhood as well. You hear that bell? You know what time it is. It's time for a special speculation session! Session. Welcome to the special speculation session, where we end off a video with a bonus theory that doesn't have enough information to be a real theory, or will probably not be discussed in the media, but would be fun for us to talk about anyways. In this session, we will discuss a very interesting symbol. We see this symbol in multiple different locations throughout this website. The void under home, the ceiling in the gallery, and one of the WHRP notebooks. Now, as stated earlier, this is pure speculation, so we are going to throw out some ideas for what this symbol may mean. The first idea is that this symbol may appear at the origin point of a goo cluster. Similarly to a gate in Stranger Things, this symbol may mark the start of a goo expansion. This symbol would appear, and then the goo would begin to sprout out from it. The second idea is that this symbol could have some relation to the occult. As this symbol is present where many pieces of Welcome Home reside, this could be some form of ritual that revolves around Wally or the entirety of Welcome Home. The third and final idea revolves around insanity. After being infected by the insanity goo, it may make you go crazy, writing and drawing spirals, eyes, and even this symbol. We can see many sticky notes and journals that are covered in these spirals and eyes, but this specific symbol here could be the main symbol. It may make you see these symbols in your mind, drawing them everywhere you can, continuing to hear that ringing phone, unable to do anything about it. Now, once again, none of these ideas have real evidence behind them, as they are all, once again, speculation, but it's important that we start already thinking about this symbol and recognize places that it may appear in the future. Well, that wraps up our time in the super speculation session, and that wraps up this video as well. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, and if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe. There will be more Welcome Home videos coming down the line, so make sure you ring the notification bell to stay up to date for those future uploads. Let me know what you think of this video down in the comments. Let me know if you have any evidence that could either support this theory or even disprove it. This is still just a theory, so it could always be disproven later down the line when we receive more information. If you want to talk to my team and I directly, check out our Discord or join our subreddit. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.